From the Wetlander to the Highlander, it's Sweet Shot of Time with your time-related recaps. We've recapped Wheel of Time, 1899, Dark, Time Bandits, 100 Years of Solitude. Today we continue Highlander the series. We're on Season 1, Episode 2. It's called Family Tree. I'm Steve Barnes, your sanctuary protector, and I'm here with my co-host. Let's find out what his Highlander title is. It's James McCullum from Marshland Media. Ahoy there, James.
Ahoy there, Steve. It's James, the Antiquator.
Okay, that sounds nice if you're going to just create your own, but we have 6 or 7 titles we can choose from, James.
Okay, what are they?
All right, well, first off,
no, it's Bendejo James. There we go. We figured it out. We don't need to touch on anything you're gonna prepared for. Get out of here. But what did you have?
Yeah, on the Highlander subreddit, you get to choose your title or your flair, so to speak. And I chose Sanctuary Protector because it sounds the most like a podcaster. There's also the Watcher. Those are people who are observing the Highlanders.
Yeah, one of them got murked in one of the movies.
I keep saying the Highlanders. Only Connor and Duncan are Highlanders because they're from Scotland. Everybody else are Immortals. I got to get my phrasing right here. You could be immortal, like Tessa or Ritchie, perhaps. You could be a hunter, which is somebody who hunts the Immortals, or you could be a guardian, which is somebody who protects the Immortals from the hunters. Those are our 6 we have to choose from, James.
I will be track 2 of Dr. Dre's The Chronic 2001, a.k.a. The Watcher.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes total sense because we're watching the show.
And I'm a little voyeur, okay?
Yeah, I wonder how deep these Watchers get. We don't meet them until season 2, but once we do, we'll analyze these guys and gals.
They're 100% fully in there. One of the main characters, I believe, a Watcher becomes a main character, I should say, because him in, I think it's the 5th movie, maybe the 4th. I get those ones confused. He's there and something bad happens to him. Spoilers.
Okay, yeah. I've already gotten into some spoilers too because I've already started watching ahead. Because like I said, we're not going to do every single one of these episodes. We're hitting on 32. As a matter of fact, James, I think the number has got increased to 34 because a person on that same subreddit, the Highlander subreddit, suggested we do, let's see, let me find these 2 episode titles.
It was the Dark Duncan ones?
Yes, it was the Dark Duncan Saga is what it's called. It's 2 episodes from season 4, and it was user Acting All the Time who suggested this, and Dark Duncan appealed to both of us, so we were like, okay, it can get on the list.
Yeah, that's some comic book bullshit. I'm assuming either a clone of him is made and he becomes a dark version, or something goes into his mind to hypnotize and pollute his mind to make him Dark Duncan. Maybe he kills another immortal, and that immortal was so bad that for 2 episodes he's going to be a little wonky.
Man, if we were writers, that would be the way to go. I honestly do not remember the Dark Duncan story arc.
Okay.
Because it's been decades since I've watched these. But yeah, I want to go ahead with some Highlander news to get us started out. Last week we talked about the movie. It was a surprise to you. And we talked about the writer, Michael Finch, who has written John Wick 4, and he's written the movie Ballerina, which is a John Wick spinoff. Now we know who the director is going to be of the Highlander movie. It's Chad Stahelski, and he's the guy who directed all the John Wick movies.
Okay.
So if you're a fan of John Wick, then you're going to be on board with the Highlander for sure.
Guys, guess what? This Highlander, he's got guns now. Oh my God. If they give him a gun blade from Final Fantasy VIII, I'm going to nut so hard seeing Henry Cavill. And you better believe he's going to have a big old scar down half his face. And then it's like, and now he's swinging a gun blade. How does it, when you shoot, it's just going to hit the blade, right? No, it's magic, fuckers. And he does a critical hit.
Dude, this episode is like an anti-gun episode because at one point the villain of the week pulls out a gun and Duncan ain't having it. He immediately disarms the guy. So I don't know how they're going to get guns into this whole world.
It's fine. You just you put a gun in the world and you got it.
God damn it. You're American, James. You're such an American.
Damn straight. My veins bleed red, white, and blue. I knew someone, an adult, who was still convinced that blood inside of you is blue, and once it becomes oxygenated, and I was like, that's just incorrect. And the individual's mother-in-law who was around, I was like, you got it. What, why? You're a nurse. You could easily tell her that that's fake. She's teaching her kids that. Not, like the skin makes the light be different and all. Because also then when you draw blood, which I brought that up, and then the nurse who was there was just like, whatever you say is not going to convince her, so you just please don't even worry about it. But then I was just flabbergasted. But I bleed red, white, and blue.
I guess he was just trying to assuage your mind and don't even try to go there. You're just going to frustrate yourself. I'm one of these people that in the past few years, I've adhered to this theory that what you see as red and what I see as red could very well be completely different.
Yeah.
So maybe this woman is right, and what she is seeing is in her mind blue, but to us it's red.
Okay. That might be why I love, like in the first Highlander or the first Trancers movie, the lighting looks very neon, that I appeal to that, but that might be because my neon looks how I think of it, and other people is like, oh, it's just a bunch of browns, how I see brown. So they're like, I don't like neon at all, but me, I'm like, oh, baby, it's as if Henry Cavill has a gun blade. That's how much I love it.
All right, I'm going to switch gears for us here because the news was really slim this week. I wanted to go and talk a little bit about Queen and how they got involved with this show. So I'm going to be, I think I'm going to be monologuing for a second here, James, while I talk about Queen, but make sure to jump in any chance you get if I ever take a pause, which probably won't happen. In 1983 is where our story is going to start with Queen. By this time, Queen has already hit their arc. I mean, they've done Bohemian Rhapsody. They've been as big as they can be at this point, and they're sick of each other. They've gone their separate ways by this point in 1983. They've quit their record label. Freddie Mercury is doing solo work. Brian May is now working with Eddie Van Halen. So it seems like there's nothing going on with Queen. In 1984, they get back together. They decide to sign up with a new label, Capitol Records, which gives us a lot more freedom in their music. They put out the album, the 1984 hit album, The Works. There you go. And they do a South American tour where they draw crowds of over 500,000 people per performance.
As is expected in South America these days.
Yeah, that's true. Queen was not expecting this because, like I said, they were kind of on a downturn at this time. So this huge surge in popularity was helpful. The producer of Live Aid in 1985 saw this happening and was like, we need Queen to perform for Live Aid as well. And it was a huge hit, so huge that Queen took another apex in their career at this point. So they were sought after for films, people wanted their music for films because it worked so well with Flash Gordon. So Highlander approached Queen and was like, can you give us a single for our movie? They reluctantly agreed. They were not into it. However, they saw the dailies eventually. They watched about 25 minutes of the completed film, and they decided that they not only wanted to do more music, they wanted to score the entire film. The director was over the moon about this, so of course he agreed. And so that's how we got Queen to be so predominantly featured in Highlander. And they love Highlander so much that when they released their next album, it's called A Kind of Magic, they use a lot of the same music, the same soundtrack. The songs Princes of the Universe and Who Wants to Live Forever are both on the album A Kind of Magic. So Queen has re-released their Highlander music as their own music and stamped their own name on it. So obviously they love this stuff. The video for Princes of the Universe, which was made in 1985 in conjunction with the film, I'm going to pause real quick and to ask James, did you get a chance to watch this video?
No, I've been super duper busy.
Well, watch it when we're done, and I adhere everyone to watch this video. I mean, it's a great Queen video. You know the song Princes of the Universe. You know 1 minute of it, and there's 2 parts of the song. There's 4 more movements of this song. This is like a Bohemian Rhapsody jam.
Oh.
It goes up, it goes down. It has a stronger chorus than what you've heard. It's a great song. In the video, they filmed the video at the same time they were filming the movie. So while they're jamming, by the way, they're wearing Highlander clothes in this video. They're wearing like the trench coat that Connor wore, the tie. Freddie Mercury cut the sleeves off his, of course, but they're all like hanging out looking like Highlanders. And then Christopher Lambert shows up. It's kind of giving them the eye while they're jamming. And then like they're in that same studio where the glass at the end of the film, the Highlander 1 film, like all that glass explodes during the quickening.
It also happens at the end of the second movie, at the end of the third movie, at the end of the fourth movie, at the end of the fifth movie, probably, hopefully, at the end of some of these episodes.
Well, it happens at the end of the Queen video as well. They're playing right there. And then my favorite part, which I was not expecting, because I was like, oh, cool, they're on the glass soundstage. Christopher Lambert's there. Cool. No, during the ripping guitar solo, Brian May starts walking up that broken staircase that who is it? Ramirez and the Kurgan were like sword fighting on, and it's collapsing as they're fighting. Brian May is walking up that same steps, and it's collapsing as he's playing his killer guitar solo. I mean, it's a great video, and it just shows that like how much Queen has like really embraced Highlander. You can just sometimes you can tell like in a video if people have their serious face on, or they're, you know, you can kind of tell they're going through the motions. They're not going through the motions. They are loving this. So yeah, I guess I should put the link in the show notes so everybody can see what I'm talking about, because I don't think it's just a very popular video. I don't remember ever seeing it until like 2 weeks ago. So it went past me somehow as well. A little mark in time.
It had to be on the Laserdisc special features, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay. If somebody has the DVD or the Laserdisc or the Blu-ray, they probably absolutely have that. I didn't even think of that. Okay. But yeah, that's all for my news this week. That's all the research I did this week. Next week, I plan to do some research because we're going to skip ahead next week to season 1, episode 13, called Band of Brothers. So in between this episode and that episode, I'm going to watch all the Highlander episodes, 3 through 11, and just kind of report back. It's probably not going to take too long. I'm not going to highlight every episode, but just kind of let you know where we stand on the characters at that point. If we missed anything good, which we probably did.
Well, I probably have time within the next 2 weeks to watch 11 episodes of a TV show. Which, okay, we do need to say something. I have been watching an upscaled, high-definition version of this in an area in which things are archived on the internet. It looks very beautiful, looks very nice. I have been working the past 5 days. It will be my 6th day in a row at the comic shop, and then I get tomorrow off. So I've been having to just watch things in the morning, late at night, whenever I can. And during some of the slower, just like shots that you see, I was like, all right, let me turn this on 1.25 speed, because that's what you can do on places that have things internetly archived.
Yes.
Did you listen to my show talking about Beyblade?
I did not.
Okay, well, on that show, I realized that Beyblade on normal speed sucks. It's just so slow. It's so bad. But turning it on 1.25 speed, it becomes a normal show. And I'm happy to report, if you guys want to like get through Highlander really fast, on 1.25 speed, it is also a normal show.
I was wondering that during some of these scenes because it was awfully slow. We're used to the more fast-paced, TikTok society that we got going now.
I will even say not just that, it's also the fact that they talk very slowly. As in some scenes, it's like, oh, I think they're just trying to pad for time because this is no, this was on USA. This was not syndicated. I'm thinking about VIP. Did you ever watch that show?
VIP?
With Pamela Anderson? It rips, guys. It's so horny and awesome. Check it out.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. Especially during some of these like crowd scenes, they spent like, oh God, they were really loving like these scenes of Ritchie walking around the city, which I should point out here as well. We're in the city of Seacouver, where Highlander takes place. It's the fictional city of Seacouver, and it's being filmed in the real city of Vancouver, which I guess is why they call it Seacouver.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but apparently, like in this world, Seacouver is very similar to like New York City or something like that. It's kind of vibe I got, was like a New York kind of vibe.
Yeah, just like how when Jason takes Manhattan, Vancouver is a lot like Manhattan.
Sure, okay. And I'm the type of person who I will definitely like get lost in the sauce. I'll definitely like. I do separate reality when I watch shows, and that's sometimes when the fourth wall is broken. It sometimes is broken for good, and I can no longer watch it. So I have a pretty good sense of like getting into where we're at. So I slipped into this world. I watched it at 1.0 speed, so I was nice and slow, taking my time. So I really got to drink it all in, James.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. Why is this episode on the list? We chose this one, season 1, episode 2, The Family Tree. Well, not us, but the Reddit community chose it as an important episode because we go into the backstory of Ritchie and Duncan's parentage. And yeah, usually episode 2 of any show is like, you know, you got to watch it because they're going to explain more they did in the first episode.
And Steve.
Yeah?
One, I wish at the end when Duncan was like, yeah, I don't know who my parents are either. I wish Tessa, that's her name, right?
Yes.
I wish Tessa had been like, whoa, guys, I don't know who my parents are either. And it's like, whoa, holy shit, we all don't know our parents. Cool. But maybe she could even say like on an existential level of like, yeah, man, I don't even think I know my parents. I thought they were one way, but now they're, you know, in France trying to overthrow the monarchy. We don't even have that anymore. But Steve, they're like you.
Exactly. Like that was one of my notes about like in scene 8, scene 9, because they handle this. When James says they're like me, James means that I had a father that was absent in my life. He left when I was a child. I think I was about 3. My sister was 7 when he did the classic, went for a pack of smokes and never came back. That's like a trope from the 70s, but it's actually true in my case. That's actually what happened. So this is handled in a real, 90s kind of goofy, melodramatic kind of way. But even so, this definitely resonates with me because when Ritchie's asking, like, why would you leave a woman and her baby? Why would you do that? I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Ronald, who's the name of my biological father, why would you do that? And, Joe Jack kind of gives a half-assed answer. But at least he gave an answer. I don't even have that, James. So yeah, this whole episode, I'm like, I could be a Highlander too, man. I could be an immortal. You never know.
We could have had little Corey on this because same boat with him.
Man, okay. Well, we're supposed to have Jose on at some point. But yeah, little Corey, get in here for this episode. Call him now. Get him in here.
Oh, yeah. I just called him. It went straight to voicemail. I messaged him 5 days ago, and he hasn't seen it. I don't know what's wrong.
Classic Corey, from what I understand.
Classic all of my co-hosts besides Steve.
Once they turn 53, they'll get much more responsible. Believe me. But yeah, your responsible co-host is now going to do the responsible thing and go into scene 1 of our episode here. I'm going to begin our recap, James. Yeah, scene 1 is we meet Joe Scanlon. He lost $50K at the tables here. He works for Mrs. Gustavson. And this is a shady operation because it looks like she encourages her dealers to cheat in order to win. Somebody came in and won $50K on his table, so she blames him and is like, until you get the money, I'm going to get my henchman here after you. And we meet the henchman. Our villain of the week is Flinch.
And she says, you are responsible for all 50,000. And if that were me in this case, I'd be like, you're responsible for 45,000. You should have cut him off at $5,000. That's what a responsible. Yeah, this guy can leave with 5,000. That's actually good for us because then other people will think they can win $5,000 here. But the other 45, that's on you, you idiot.
I mean, I agree. And I know she's got to have the money. I think Joe must have done something in like the previous weeks or previous month leading up to this, because I don't think just one altercation like this would lead to this type of thing. And we do learn that he is kind of new here. And I want to make it clear right from the get-go, Joe Scanlon is indeed Jack Ryan. He's the same person. He's Jack Ryan. He's on the lam. He's come to town here and he's working at this casino. and he's only been here for a few months. So I should go into the actors who these people are, because all these actors are big names. We got J.E. Freeman. He's playing Joe Jack. That's what I'm going to call him from now on, is Joe Jack.
Okay.
He played in Alien Resurrection, and he was also in Miller's Crossing, which is where I recognized him from his role in Miller's Crossing. Villain of the week this week, we got the mulleted Peter DeLuise. Do you recognize Peter DeLuise, James?
He looks familiar, but no.
I did the thing where I was like, he looks familiar, but I was racking my brain trying to figure it out. He's from 21 Jump Street. He was the star of 21 Jump Street along with Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Johnny Depp played like the young, hot, brooding detective, and Peter DeLuise played like the chubbier, funny detective. Mm-hmm. And so that was like their vibe. And then we got Tamsin Kelsey. She played the villain in Needful Things. She was like one of the shop owners, and that's where we might recognize her from. That's her biggest role. And she played Mrs. Gustavson, the owner of this casino, I suppose. So yeah, we get a little breaking of the fingers here. Flinch breaks Joe's finger and is like, you got 5 days to come up with the money. And that's where we leave these guys.
You got until Friday. Always Friday, you know?
Next Friday. All right, next scene, we're at the orphanage now. And Ritchie is trying to coerce the records off someone here. I mean, I guess he's trying to steal. He gets caught and he runs off. And Harold, the security guard, commandeers him. He's wearing the cool jacket again, James. That green and black jacket he was wearing last time. I guess that's a staple of his.
Real quick, I do think after you're 18 years old, you should have access to your own records to see like, hey, who are my parents?
Yeah, I think so. And he's definitely 18 by this point. I think he just doesn't know that. And I think he's just kind of skirting the rules however he can. I like the way he calls Harold by name multiple times. That's like a tactic that you use when you're trying to get on somebody's good side and trying to, appeal to them. He tries it, doesn't work. He ends up in the police station. James, Sergeant Powell was right. Like, the guy did end up back in jail. Remember last episode that dickhead cop was like, he's going to come back in here. I know it. He's back.
He's fine. It's okay, because it wasn't like he was trying to just find out about his past in just the wrong way. And Harold, the security guard, he plows into him and he's like, oh, yeah. Good thing I took the excessive force and why not to do it courses for security guards. And then when he pulls Ritchie is his name, he pulls him away, and you see. And this is also how you know this is like a set wall and not a real stairwell. There are 2 huge holes indented in the wall. And it's like, you're using excessive force, sir.
Either excessive force or inadequate walls, one or the other. Uh-huh. Yeah, Duncan comes back from his little sanctuary island that he had from episode 1 and bails Ritchie out.
You were saying, how are they going to get Ritchie here on the island if they're on the island? And it's like, no, they just, forget about the island.
I mean, maybe the island is just like their little vacation home, because Duncan's rich. I mean, we got to deal with that fact. He's a rich dude. We learned that this episode, as a matter of fact. Let's see. Yeah, Duncan bails the boy out. The next scene, we get Tessa and Duncan. They discuss helping Ritchie discover his parentage, and Duncan is a little doubtful. He's got some deep-seated doubts in his head, I guess based from his own parentage. Mm-hmm. Eventually, we get Duncan and Ritchie. They're working on the car, like a father and son kind of little task here, talking about Ritchie's mom and his possible father. And I like that Ritchie's aware enough to know himself, and he's like, my asking for help gene has not been developed. And I think just by him saying that, he's showing us that he's a lot more savvy than he realizes.
Yeah. In the scene with Tessa, she's like working on some art, and Duncan says, hey, you look hot. And then she's like, well, yeah, that's what art really takes. And he's like, oh, no. And then freaking dumps a goddamn Gatorade bucket on her.
That was disgusting. It ruined her artwork, too. Everything started melting immediately.
Yeah. But just, make that solid and, make it solidify. And then you just make that the art piece.
Yeah. Football player's dream come true. All right. Scene 6. It's a Game of Thrones scene, it looks like. We got a bunch of long-haired guys with swords. They're actually like in Scotland. They're like the Highlanders for real. Duncan dies and returns here. And much to the chagrin of the whole neighborhood, because they're all thinking he's a devil man, we got the creepy lady in the corner. I'm not sure what her deal is, if she's like Duncan's grandma or if she's like the midwife or the doctor. She didn't say a word. She just looked creepy and laughed a lot. I didn't know what to think of her. She really stuck out to me in the scene, the lady in the corner. To you?
I mean, she was just there to be a creepy old lady. That's how I took it.
I mean, I guess I'm easily distracted because like my focus was totally on her. I was like, why is she here? What is she doing here?
My focus was on the the MacLeod clan, not the McClan Cloud. You want to know? That's what they are now. When his dad was like, oh, we need to do this for Duncan because he was killing in the name of us and he didn't care about his own safety. Right. And then he's like, come on, for Duncan. And they're like, yeah. Just the most lethargic assholes in the world. Just like, yeah, I get. But maybe they're like, we don't want to die like him.
They were just humoring Duncan's dad here. Just like, yeah, I guess. I mean, he's dead, so we might as well feign interest for 5 minutes and then go about our business. Sweet Shot of Time is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the way we record Sweet Shot of Time. We hook up with our guests via video and we record it on audio. Recently, we've been doing video podcasts with the cast of Time Bandits. It's easy using Zencastr. You can record video or audio. You can also edit your podcast or your video via Zencastr. Join Zencastr using my promo code Sweet Child of Time and you can get 30% off Zencastr. If you're ready to start your podcast, it's time to share your story. Share it with Zencastr. That promo code once again, Sweet Child of Time at Zencastr.com. Duncan's dad here was played. He's rubbed shoulders with your boy Nick Cage. He played the pilot in Wicker Man, the original in the Wicker Man with Nick Cage. Okay. Duncan's dad played the old pilot.
I know that movie well, and the original. Original is just such a flawless movie.
Oh, so the original was better. The Nick Cage one was off the wall and weird.
The Nick Cage one was fine. However, the scene that you're like, oh, the bees, and they're all being put in there, that's in a different cut. Like, if you try to watch that just on, like, normal Voodoo Fandango rent it, there's a chance you're not getting, like, the iconic, crazy scenes. So make sure, but the cinematography and the, like, set design of that movie rips. It is so good.
Okay, I've never seen the Nick Cage. I listened to your podcast when y'all talked about it, but I never actually seen it. I've seen the original Wicker Man and enjoyed it. You're
it's
right.
Fine.
Yeah. Well, okay, Duncan's dad here, the Wicker Man dude, tells Duncan, you're not my son, because, like, he's resurrected. We find out later that it has like a triple meaning, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. The next scene, scene 7, we get a close-up of Tessa and Duncan's faces, like with their machinery in the foreground there. I don't know why they did that shot. It just looked kind of kooky, maybe just for the still image, perhaps. But the next scene, scene 8, is when we really get cooking. This is when we have dinner talk with the three of them. And we're talking about Duncan's resurrection. Ritchie knows that Duncan is an immortal. Like, it's out in the open here. Did you catch that?
Yeah, but he knew that from the previous episode, I thought.
Well, that's right. Yeah, he saw the head getting cut off and he saw the quickening. I forgot about he saw the quickening. I thought he had just seen them fighting swords a lot and just thought they were swords dudes.
No, he also saw Connor get stabbed. Connor get stabbed. And hey, guys, listen to, I think, episode 4 of our Death to Squids Highlander. And here, Jose and I scream, Connor, way too many times. But yeah, you saw him get stabbed, fall in an ocean, and then be pulled out.
That's right. Okay. So yeah, Ritchie's on board with all this immortal stuff. Yeah, they get to make jokes about it where Duncan was like, I was so depressed I wanted to die, but I couldn't. So it seems like Duncan's trying to dissuade Ritchie from this whole thing. It seems like he has like this negative perception of it. What I think is that Duncan has a real strong sixth sense as an immortal, and he can kind of sense when something's kind of off. Something's not quite right with this story here. That's all he senses right now, I believe.
And he says, sometimes you're better off not knowing who your father really is, which is something a friend of ours wants to say, at least, because she's never met her secret half-sibling. And it's just like, no, you dodged a bullet not knowing your father because I know him and I wish I didn't.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Speaking from personal experience, like I have a father and then like a whole set of other relatives that I've never met and never have known. And there would be some advantage, not just like personal advantage, like, oh, I get to learn your story. An advantage of like knowing like their medical history and like, what kind of experiences they might have had, where they've lived, what they've come across, so I'm kind of not aware of any of that. At the same time, I'm also not aware of any of their foibles or any of their, any of the bad stuff that could come along with knowing someone like that. I don't know. I explained that very poorly.
But what if one of them, like a cousin of yours, is in freaking Guar? Wouldn't you want to know that?
I would, actually. That is one of the things about it that would be interesting, especially a city like Richmond, because we rub shoulders with each other all the time. Like, I don't know Guar, but I have been in Guar bar with Guar, so it's like really easy to like rub shoulders with everybody here in Richmond. So if they're still here, then absolutely I've crossed their paths. Speaking of crossing paths, we're going to get back to our story here. We're still at the dinner table talking, and Ritchie is telling us the story that he remembers of his mom, like the last memories he has. He used to go to the post office, he used to go to the candy store, talk to Stubbs, a.k.a. Mr. Tubby, get some licorice. And then he tells a tragic story of when his mom died of a brain aneurysm in that same store. And ever since then, he's been kind of like, a listless life. He's been an orphan since then. So next scene is the big scene. I don't know. I tried to look up what song this was because it's definitely not Queen. This next scene is scene 9, a very long scene of Ritchie walking through the city, doing a lot of pointing and asking and walking. No bandana. I got to point out there's no bandana this episode. And he looks young. So I think the bandana maybe not have been the best call last episode.
And I'll say this. We know he's looking in an area of the city that would have been where he was hanging out with his mom, which means he was growing up in the best part of town, a.k.a. the area of town that has a porno theater.
It's got a porno theater, and then right next to it is an arcade. Yeah. So after you do your business, you got your clarity, you can go to the arcade and really focus on Mortal Kombat.
See, in my area in Muskegon, we didn't have a proper arcade. So if I wanted to play Street Fighter 2, I had to go to the lobby of the porno theater.
Damn. That's so sad.
And guess what? Oh, man, that Street Fighter 2, you could punch in the codes to see M. Bison without his shorts on.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that game, but yeah, I do know about the codes that usually only worked on the home consoles, but they worked in the arcades too?
I'm lying about I'm saying there's always those rumors of like, oh, you can make Chun-Li fight in a bikini, which I think is what like DOA, Dead or Alive, that series. They're like, oh yeah, if that's what people want, we'll give it to them. If you want to see them fight nude even, we'll put in a code, all right?
Mr. Stubbs, though, is definitely anti-arcade because he's talking down about the arcade. His Stubbs drugstore became an arcade, and the arcade owner obviously knows Stubbs because he directs Ritchie over to where Stubbs is playing chess in the park. And Mr. Stubbs absolutely remembers Ritchie and Emily and tells Ritchie the whole story, confirms everything Ritchie knows, and is like, hey, I think I've seen your dad around town, this small town of Seacouver. He's over at the Spinning Wheel Hotel in Madison. So we're going to slip over there and check that dude out, James. Anything about Mr. Stubbs and his crew before we move on?
No.
All righty, Mr. Stubbs, we're done with you for now. So we're going to the Spinning Wheel Hotel. And like I said before, we know that Jack Ryan is Joe Scanlon, one of the same guy. Ritchie goes and pays him a visit. He claims that he broke his pinky playing chess. There's a little line of like a continuity that runs through this episode. That's our first case of it. He clearly has no interest in talking to Ritchie until Ritchie, like he remembers the whole antique store thing. And then he's like, oh, maybe the kid's got some money. Because yeah, sure enough, Clinch, Peter DeLuise comes in here, wants to break another finger of Joe's. He doesn't though. It looks like he breaks a second finger of Joe's, but I kept an eye on Joe's hand. He only has that one broken pinky. So Clinch let him get off with that other finger. Clinch also tells him some good stuff here. He's a good villain. Like, even though he doesn't have any superpowers or anything, He's got a cool presence and he's got some cool lines. He says, God doesn't love you, Joe. Nobody loves you. Which
this is how you know the horrorcore community. If you don't know what horrorcore is, it's a subgenre of rap music that deals specifically in horror and horror adjacent subject matter. You know they don't watch Highlander because this would be sampled to the shit. Like the start of every single song in 2002 should have been with this line.
That's right. Nobody loves you. And he says another good line too a little later on. He says, no, same scene. He says, if you don't come up with the money, I'm going to cut off your hand. I'm going to watch you eat it finger by finger with a little bit of ketchup on the side. So, yeah, finger boy.
You want to know who would love that? Jack Vernon? That's that guy's name.
Who?
Jack Vernon. Jackie Vernon?
I don't know who Jackie Vernon is.
He's a stand-up comedian. He was Frosty the Snowman, the voice of. He was in this movie called Microwave Massacre, and he eats a hand, and he's like, oh, this is good. And then just starts eating people in a big microwave. But you know for a fact, the boss lady does not know of or approve of him wanting to feed people their own hand. Even she would be like, hey, dude, no, you're fired. This is not acceptable.
I mean, I think she is like a by any means necessary kind of person. I'm going to go against you on that because I think that as long as she gets what she wants, she's going to bottom line it. You don't think so?
When you say by any means necessary, there is, for everyone, it's like, well, not those means because those means are not necessary. You could just cut someone's hand off and that's enough. You could or it's because that is cruel and unusual. Cruel is cutting hand off and mailing it to a colleague of yours. Like, that's cruel, but not unusual. That's heard of. But making someone eat the hand, that's both cruel and unusual. That is against my amendment rights.
Let's see. Do you think that he was being hyperbolic, or do you think he would actually go through with that type of thing? Because I've seen some films recently where they've done some disgusting stuff like this.
Oh, yeah. You've been watching a lot of Two Girls, One Cup?
No. What was it I've seen recently? You might have to give me a second to think. It was Yellow Jackets. Jackets is where like one of the characters forced another one of the characters to like eat their severed finger on the kitchen floor. So I think, yeah, like this bodyguard Clinch would be like cheering along. He would love Yellow Jackets for that respect, I guess.
There was a horrorcore rapper that like they were hanging out at a party and one of them cut off their finger, and I think they might have tried eating it. I don't remember. I don't. Sometimes horrorcore people, if you're really trying to be what you're talking about, you gotta take a couple steps back and reevaluate. Like, we don't approve or want to even know what you're doing if that's what it is, just like the boss lady.
That's right. Scene 12, Joe Jack comes to visit Ritchie at the antique store. He doesn't get 2 sentences in until Ritchie says, this is getting a little boring. Mm-hmm. Like Ritchie's a little rude boy in that respect. But he eventually comes out. Because he senses that Ritchie doesn't have a very long attention span, he comes out as Ritchie's dad. This is where I was going to tell my runaway dad story, but I don't have to. I've already done it. But in doing so and introducing himself as Ritchie's dad, he tells him some true stories from his life. Tells him about Uncle Bart. He was a betting man who bet on sports, and he was a hot dog man, and he would put the money into the hot dog buns. In our consistent threads, that's pretty much exactly where these guys go. Ritchie and his newfound dad, Joe Jack, they go to a baseball game and they get hot dogs. So I think whoever was writing this episode definitely was like, I said hot dogs earlier, so let's go with hot dogs again.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Jack did some time in Leavenworth, and that's why he wasn't around as a father. He was in jail. He didn't even know that Emily had passed away. He learns this from Ritchie, and he's pretty kind about the whole thing. He says a bunch of nice stuff about Emily, but eventually he did leave her, and he left a small child. So Ritchie, with tears in his eyes, is emotional about this. Jack opens up to Ritchie as well. We learn that Jack is the perfect age of 53 years old. How my ears sung when I heard that. I'm like, man, I got so much in common with this episode. It's crazy.
speaking on that, when there's disagreements among Joe, Jack, and Duncan, I'm like, oh, my 53-year-old daddy and my 400-year-old daddy are getting into a fight. No.
Joe Jack talks about Russian dolls, and he compares his life to a Russian doll. And then we get Russian dolls in the last scene as well. So once again, we get 3 little consistent moments. I like this. So scene 13, this is occurring at the same time that Ritchie and Joe Jack are talking. Meanwhile, at the antique store, Duncan is pacing the store. He's worried about Ritchie. He senses something is off. Like I said before, it seems that immortals have the 6th sense about danger. He decides to go ahead and break into Joe Jack's apartment. And as soon as he breaks in, he's greeted by another guy who also broke into Joe Jack's apartment. Clinch is there. And Duncan does this really weird thing of like being overly friendly when he's presented with danger. And it's kind of off-putting in my opinion.
I would say he is trying to off-put them so he doesn't need to fight, because more eyes on him. He doesn't want to get in trouble with the law because like in the ICP I Want My Shit song, it's Violent J talking about him being an immortal. And when he does go to prison, he's in there for 80 years. And they're like, wait, why are you here again? And they're like, well, I guess we just have to release him. There's no reason he should be here. So there would be instances like that where if he goes to jail, it's the first Highlander movie. He's trying to evade the police so they don't get on his radar, because he has for years just been pretty much killing one identity and leaving all of the assets to another one of his identities. And if the law is looking, the IRS is looking, he's done for. You can't be an immortal in this day of the police state, surveillance state.
No, that's excellent points. I'm still confused as to why Duncan would think it was an okay idea to break into his apartment and wait for Ritchie and Joe Jack to come into his apartment. Because he didn't just break in to look around. He broke in to like wait for them. I thought that was very odd, personally.
To intimidate.
I guess to intimidate. Yeah, I guess that without the help of the police, without the help of anyone else, under the radar, like you said. Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
And maybe it's like, if I find something, I can confront them right away, both Joe Jack and Ritchie at the same time. But I did like Clinch is his name?
Clinch, yeah.
Tom, what was the last guy's name?
What last guy?
Clance or something?
Clinch, yeah.
No, from the last episode, the immortal.
Oh, Slan Quince.
Yeah, his name is Slan Clinch now. So I loved how Clinch was like, for a guy who just broke into an apartment, you sure are smiling a lot.
I thought it was interesting. Well, I mean, it was interesting, but for a reason. Joe Jack doesn't seem to like be upset at all that he broke into his apartment. He's waiting for him. I think he's just kind of playing along because he's planning on robbing them later. So he has to play nice. But I think of a normal person, if you walk into your apartment with your new son and there's some other random dude there waiting, you would probably be a lot more upset than Joe Jack was here.
Unless you were trying to get in good with your son, like if he really wanted his son to love him again and be a part of his life, he'd be like, oh, this is the man who's been caring for you. He doesn't know for how long. I need to respect this man because if I go off the wall, this man could even just say to my son, hey, stop seeing him.
Yeah, I guess that's true because, Mac, a.k.a. Duncan, does kind of have the upper hand here. They don't have any kind of confrontation, but Ritchie sure does. Like Ritchie is pissed off because he sees right through this whole thing. And Duncan doesn't do a good job of explaining himself at all. So I can see Ritchie being pissed off. He doesn't get a good explanation from Mac, is what he calls Duncan. So this scene kind of ends on a bad note. And then the very next scene, scene 14, Ritchie decides to bypass Duncan and go to Tessa instead. And he asks Tessa, with Jack right there in tow, if Jack can crash there for a few days. Really uncomfortable way to ask somebody this with the other person present. And I'm ashamed to admit that I have done this exact same thing before too. I went to my mom's house with my girlfriend at the time, Heather. We were only dating. My mom had never met Heather before. This is the first time she meets this wonderful woman, Heather, that Steve has been dating. So we show up, everything's chitty chatty, whatever. Hey, next week, the whole family's going on vacation to the beach. Hey, Mom, think it's cool if Heather comes with us? Heather's sitting right beside me. And I'm asking my mom this as she just met her. So totally putting everybody on the spot. And it goes down okay. Like I don't get killed for it. I don't get beheaded, but I certainly felt like I deserved it, like in the aftermath. Because as we left there, Heather was like, that was a really weird thing to do. And the next time I talked to my mom was like, that was a really weird thing to do. So I've learned my lesson since then.
It's just weird that she was in the room because I don't think it's weird that you asked. Okay.
Yeah, that she was in the room, that I asked her right in front of her and put my mom on the spot. Yes.
You should have texted her on your little Boost Mobile flip phone. Well, you were obviously in your Jinko jeans.
I was in my Jinko jeans. I don't think flip phones existed because, me and Heather both had matching Jinkos at that time. I think we had pagers. I don't think flip phones were around yet. So I would have paged my mom 420. What's a vacation symbol? I don't know. Anyway. Duncan here, I'm going to get to our scenes again. Get away from Steve Barnes. This is uncomfortable stuff. Scene 15, Duncan confronts Clinch. He goes to the shop because while he was at the apartment, he gets up a couple clues as to where Joe Jack worked at. So he shows up at work. He and Clinch get a little karate fight here. And again, Duncan smiles a bit too much. Nothing is really resolved in this scene because if it was, then the episode would have ended. So we're moving on.
Isn't this a scene where I think smiling not enough because Clinch goes for his gun and Duncan says, hey, you go for that gun. I'm going to make you eat it. And no, that's a proper response. He's an immortal. He doesn't need to worry about this little shit heel.
Oh.
He can just knock him out, but he needs to do it in a way that doesn't seem supernatural.
Okay, that totally makes sense. Just a little threatening here. Next scene, 16, Ritchie is showing off all the expensive stuff in the antique shop to his dad. Terrible idea.
Pretty much saying, hey, I'm going to let you in. This is the one you should steal if you need to steal something.
Yup. Tessa gives him the benefit of the doubt, however. She's a kind-hearted person. Duncan makes this cool phrase. He's like, yeah, sure. Because she's like, oh, Duncan, he might have been a thief before, but people can change. Duncan says, yeah, that's right. People can change. It takes centuries. Mm-hmm. So very insightful on him.
And Duncan's like, hey, I need to confront him now. Tessa's like, nah, man, it can wait until morning because we haven't had our sex per episode yet.
That's right. Well, my note here says Tessa suggests they fuck first before they confront Joe Jack. So we both have the same idea.
He'll be too depleted to even worry about that. He'll have that post-nut clarity.
They must have been going hard because Joe got away with it. The next morning, the mask is gone. Ritchie is standing beside himself, literally with his back to Duncan. Mm-hmm. Cool clothes. This kid has some cool designer clothes for being a street urchin. But I guess by this point, he's lived with Duncan for a few months. So he's gotten that rich kid aura now.
And Duncan's like, hey, you have to work a little bit in the antique shop. So I'm going to buy you clothes that could look okay if you were working in my antique shop.
Right. And you got to make sure to tuck him in, too. He's real good at always tucking in his shirt. I guess to show off his body, I suppose. I don't know.
Probably.
I'm anti-shirt tucking, James. I don't know if okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad.
Unless I'm in a fancy shirt that right. Has I'm not some pop punk band in 2002 wearing a 3-piece suit untucked everywhere.
Or Ritchie wearing nice designer big baggy t-shirts and you tuck them into your jeans so they billow out more. I'm not into that look.
And you gotta tuck your genitals, guys. Especially if you're gonna, mangina someone, Buffalo Bob style. You better believe I did that as a teenager every chance I got.
God. Do I admit I did it as well? No, I don't admit that yet. Okay.
Okay. I'll say this. if I said like, hey guys, come here, some of my friends were like, are you going to mangina us, James? I'd be like, all right, you caught me.
I guess maybe.
But for real, like, come here, I do need to show you something. And they're like, okay. And then they get manginaed.
I'm more like Buffalo Bill, where I do it in the privacy of my own room in the mirror. I don't invite other people to see.
No, I was inviting everyone. And then they would invite new people over to be like, yeah, hey, James, mangina this new person. And there are some that I felt bad about.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping you're kidding. We're moving on. Ritchie is bummed and disillusioned about this whole situation. Joe Jack actually was his father, despite Ritchie's anger, or at least I should come clean now and say that, that Joe Jack was at least a father figure in Ritchie's life, because we learned something a few scenes from now. I won't spoil it yet, just in case nobody's watched it. But yeah, he's angry, and then Duncan is half in the shadows in this next scene because he's getting ready to have a big memory. So let's go with Duncan now on his big memory, scene 17. His father was not actually his biological father, is what we learn in this next scene. Through a lot of yelling back and forth between Duncan and his dad, we learned that when Duncan's dad and his mom had a natural child together, that child died in childbirth. So a woods witch brought them a fresh new baby, and they changed babies. And that fresh new baby that they brought was Duncan. So the actual child died. They raised Duncan as their child, never thought anything of it until the resurrection thing happened. And that's when his father was like, oh, I guess he really is some sort of demon. Why did I raise you? So this is a pretty sad scene where Duncan is trying to figure out where he comes from, and he's yelling after his father. And he tells Ritchie that after a couple 100 years, you eventually get over it.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think that guy was telling the truth, like his dad. If his son died in childbirth, if that were Duncan, he would have just come back to life.
No, you misunderstand. They had a child. The child died straight up. And then a woman showed up at their door and was like, I heard your child just died. Here's another child. It's Duncan.
Yeah, see, I took it as died in childbirth, was stillborn.
Oh.
And then, he's dead. And then they're like, actually, he wasn't dead. And then they're like, plays it off of like, this is a new child, even though it's the same child.
I mean, I do hear you, but my rebuttal is, if that's the case, then Duncan had a totally normal childbirth that happened around 1600. This other way, where this mysterious woman comes in with this mysterious baby, it leads more credence to the fact that we don't know who Duncan's parents are.
Yeah, but I'm still going with that dude was his dad, and the dad was just trying to he was trying to airbud him of like, get out of here, you dumb dog. I don't want you. And instead of, coming up to him and hugging him like a dog should, Duncan's like, okay, I guess that you're not my dad.
Well, I guess respectful disagree, because I do think that we still don't know who Duncan's real mother and father are.
Hey, and listeners who have seen all of Highlander, does this ever get resolved? Do we end up finding out who his father is?
Yeah, great question, because as of right now, we don't know. We're kind of going into this new almost. Okay, yeah, since we've had this powerful disagreement and we're really mad at each other right now, let's move on to scene 18. That's right, James is giving me the middle finger. How dare you?
I got dressed up like Steve-O when he had that big mohawk respectfully screaming at his parents, fuck you. And unfortunately, you're kind of a father figure to me. You're like my Joe Jack.
I guess so, yeah. Like, not biological, but I stepped in when it needed to be done. So, yeah.
And you're going to steal some comic books from Eric, the owner of the comic book store, who I guess is also a father figure to me.
Does he have like a copy of The Mask that could steal, perhaps? That would really tie in with this episode. Because, Joe Jack steals a golden mask.
We also have just other masks that they're not worth anything really, but we have a few copies of The Mask, which got turned into Jim Carrey's The Mask.
JetBlue tickets to Chicago. Here I come. All right. Scene 18. We got Joe Jack. He's trying to offload this mask, and he's seeing a travel agent because he's going to skip town. So Clinch is laying here and waiting for Joe, and laying in Joe's apartment. He's like waiting for Joe to show up so he can break another finger, I guess. Ritchie shows up instead, looking for his pop, and Clinch collars him. Joe sees this go down, but he gets in the car anyway. Eventually, he shows up at the at Mrs. What's her name's shady casino shop.
Yeah,
with the mask. Pretty damn ugly mask, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe that's part of the appeal, is like the super ugly mask that's made of gold and gemstones.
To be honest, it looked like someone poured gold over the Necronomicon in Evil Dead, and then that's how they came up with this mask. It looks like the Necronomicon, but in mask form.
Yeah, I can see that. Joe shows up with this mask. They recognize that it's solid gold. He says, let Ritchie go. A fight ensues. And I should say that the woman who's like the mob boss, she makes a good point. She's like, hey, that mask is hot. I'm not going to get any more than 10% because you stole the damn thing, which is a great point. Even though she herself is a thief and a crook, she recognizes the worth or like the unworth of like stolen items. So this is where the fight ensues. Duncan totally kicks ass here. And should I say that last episode we were like, oh, it seems like he's pretty good at doing karate and stuff. He's like, yeah, that's exactly what he is. He's an expert martial artist.
Yeah.
He's an expert swordsman. Before he even thought about doing this show, he's been, an artist. So this fight ensues. And my favorite part is, like I said before, is Clinch pulls out that gun. Duncan's like, throws that knife to disarm the gun, which I love this. Clinch fights pretty good. He's not a bad fighter, but he's not as good as Duncan. Clinch goes down. And because he loses the fight, he's fired. Do you notice how Miss Leavenworth fires him right away?
But it's not just that fight, it's the other fight and not being able to get the $50,000. Like that was his job for this week, was to ensure getting $50,000 out of Joe Jack, and he fails.
He does, but I think she fires people way too quickly. I think she needs to hang on to her employees a little more.
She might have also found out he's been making people eat their severed hand.
Good point. Yeah, okay. I wouldn't want that guy around either. So scene 19, this is our next to last scene. We learned that change is good. This is what Tessa tells Duncan, and Duncan takes offense to that. Ritchie reveals here that he doesn't know. Ritchie reveals that he also doesn't know who his parents are here. I'm sorry, Duncan reveals here. They basically both learned that they don't know who their real parents are. Mm-hmm. And so they're both kind of orphans to this world. Yeah, I did a bad job with that note, James. Do you have anything you can go along with that, or should I move on to scene 20?
He says you get to decide who you are.
There you go. That was the best line of the scene, I guess. Scene 20 is the last scene here, is when they're in the car for the last time. Ritchie's trying to talk Duncan into making a real loud engine. Duncan's like, you got to be chill and kind of go under the radar. Ritchie's like, nah, man. I want to rev this engine like a motherfucker. And he's laughing and revving that engine into the episode.
Hell yeah, dude. And I really like how in the first episode, I was thinking, Ritchie's going to be a shit character. I'm not going to like him. But in this, no, he has redeeming qualities. He is a nice individual. He's not just a shithead he's not just there to cause trouble for the plot. He is actually trying to do something with his life.
Yeah, I liked Ritchie more this episode too. And I was thinking the same thing as well, because I was, trying to figure out who this show appeals to, why they made this show. And so, of course, we got the sex appeal. That's universal. We got the sword fighting. We got the
universal.
Again, you're going to have your action people who are into that. But then I guess they decided there's adults, there's fighting, there's sex. We need to attract a younger audience. I believe that they brought in Ritchie as a young male to hopefully boost their female numbers, because Ritchie's a cute boy and he's asking a lot of questions. He's a nice character. I'm kind of leaning towards they were trying to attract a older female audience is what I'm thinking.
Okay,
trying to check all their boxes. But that's the end of this episode. Next time, we're going to be talking about Band of Brothers, which is season 1, episode 13. Yes, James.
Hey, and real quick, by checking all the boxes, they're checking all their boxes. Am I right?
You are right.
Meaning, box.
I
vagina,
got you, James. You're talking about those display cases that are like in the antique store. That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
You got to check all those boxes. Make sure there's not a huge mask missing.
That's right. We're gonna start in our episode here. Before we do, I'm gonna read a little bit of a note that we got from somebody who watched the episode and gave us some notes. All right, this Redditor, I don't even know how to say their name. Surrey4. Let's just say Surrey4. That's close enough. There's a lot of like spaces and other stuff in there. They loved the episode. They let us know that in the fourth film, Highlander Endgame, with Connor and Duncan, there is no last immortal, because Methos, he's the guy who helps break Duncan out, is also immortal. So you leave that movie with 3 immortals. I should read his exact words. It says you'll meet him later in your series recap. There's a character called Methos. He says, saying Highlander 2 is your favorite movie is a wild take, LOL. But then again, I love the third movie, so who am I to judge? This is series words. He says, spot on comment about the Foley work. They have an ex who is in production, and she pointed out the exact same thing when they watched the show years ago.
Hell yeah.
Adrian Paul, the actor who plays Duncan, has the best orgasm face, a.k.a. quickening reactions.
Uh-huh.
He says that we got to make sure to pay attention to that throughout the series because he makes some great ones and they only get better. Yeah, says he can't wait for more of this. He's going to check out the movie recaps too. So check out Death to Squids on Marshland Media. That's DETH to Squids.
Speaking of which,
yeah,
did you watch Trancers yet?
No.
Oh, dude, you're going to love it. Man, Jack Death, you're going to fall in love with him. And Helen Hunt.
Okay, yeah, Helen Hunt's, she's solid. I mean, I'm committed right now. I've already said I'm going to watch 11 episodes of Highlander between this episode and next episode.
Oh, you didn't say that. I said that.
Well, no, I think I said that. I said that I was going to do my research before next episode, and I was going to watch all these episodes.
I heard research. I was like, yeah, he's just going to look at the Wikipedia pages for each episode.
Oh, hell no, dude. I do some deep dives is my style.
Hey, Reddit, let us know. Would you rather him just watch one single movie of Trancers, so he can have conversations with 2 of his friends, even though he doesn't really know Jose, or watch 11 episodes of Highlander? Or, hey, Heather, let me know. Would you rather him watch, the equivalent of around, 7 movies in 2 weeks, or just one movie that you might also like?
I mean, you're making some good points here, James. I got some heavy thinking to do. I'm going to leave here and meditate on this and probably have a paralysis of indecision, more than likely. But yeah, you can find us all kinds of places. You can find me on the Highlander subreddit on Reddit as well. It's r/Highlander. There's also a Facebook group I've joined recently called Highlander Heart, which I've been pretty active on that. On Instagram, you can find me at Sweet Child of Time Pod or at Introvoid. You can find James at MLM Pod on Instagram, or he's also Marshland Monster on Instagram. And where else are we? We have websites too. SweetChildOfTime.com is where you can put your thoughts and your letters to. James's website is MLMpod.com, but the best one to go to is Patreon. James has a Patreon over there for the Marshland Media Network, and that's at patreon.com/MLMpod. And that's all the places they can find us, right, James? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, also listen to Magical Meatball Girls wherever podcasts are found. And again, Death to Squids on the Marshland Media podcast feed, which also has Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling, which is my friend Sean and I. We've been going through all of Lucha Underground. We're almost done.
Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling. Sweet Child of Time. Who ripped who off here, James? Who was first?
I think Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling was first because on Shuffling the Deck, our segment where we talked about wrestling, I think he called it Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling.
All right. I was hoping that you guys ripped me off and I could sue y'all, but it's not going to happen. We're not going to be litigious. We're going to leave y'all for this week. So until next time, I hope you guys always find water and shade and shoes. Ciao, baby.
Ciao, baby.